The distress beacon had been silent for 72 hours. Cale Arden pressed his palm against the viewport of the military transport Perseverance, watching the rust-colored sphere of Bion Delta grow larger against the star-scattered darkness. The planet rotated slowly beneath its thin atmosphere, revealing the geometric scars of industrial mining operations across its northern hemisphere. From orbit, the automated facility appeared unchanged, a sprawling complex of extraction towers, processing plants, and residential modules connected by covered walkways that snaked across the barren landscape like mechanical arteries. "Looks normal from up here," muttered Sergeant Chin Rodriguez, joining Cale at the observation deck. The compact woman's dark eyes reflected the planet's amber glow as she studied the surface through binoculars. No obvious signs of catastrophic failure. Cale nodded, though his weathered face remained tight with concern. 23 years of military service had taught him that the most dangerous situations often appeared deceptively peaceful from a distance. Communications array is intact, power grid shows normal output, and the automated systems are still processing ore. Whatever happened down there, it wasn't a technical malfunction. Behind them, the rest of Cale's 5-person reconnaissance team prepared their equipment with practiced efficiency. Corporal Marcus Webb checked and rechecked his medical kit, his nervous energy barely contained despite his attempts to appear calm. The young medic had performed admirably during their last 2 missions, but this was his first investigation of a completely silent facility. Tech specialist Luna Vasquez ran diagnostics on her scanning equipment, her augmented reality display casting geometric patterns across her angular features. Private First Class Dmitry Volkov, their heavy weapon specialist, methodically cleaned his plasma rifle for the 3rd time that morning, his scarred hands moving with mechanical precision. "Orbital scan complete," announced Captain Sarah Morrison from the bridge. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had spent 15 years commanding reconnaissance vessels in hostile territory. "I'm detecting 147 human life signs in the facility, all showing normal vital patterns. Whatever's keeping them from responding to our hail, they're alive." Cale exchanged a glance with Rodriguez. 147 signatures matched the facility's manifest exactly. Every miner, engineer, and support staff member was accounted for, yet none had responded to repeated communication attempts over the past 3 days. "Could be some kind of localized interference," suggested Webb, shouldering his pack. "Maybe they can't hear us." "The communication array is functioning perfectly," Vasquez interjected without looking up from her screens. "Both primary and backup systems are operational. If they wanted to talk to us, they could." Cale turned away from the viewport and faced his team. Intel suggests Bion Delta's mining operation was ahead of schedule. They'd struck several rich veins of tritanium and rare earth elements in the lower shafts. Corporal was pleased. No reports of labor disputes, equipment failures, or security concerns. "So what's the working theory?" Rodriguez asked, adjusting the strap of her assault rifle. "Command thinks it might be a coordinated work stoppage. The miners' union has been pushing for better hazard pay, and Bion Delta's isolation makes it an ideal place to stage a protest. Remote enough that corporate can't easily send in strikebreakers, but valuable enough that a shutdown hurts the bottom line." Volkov grunted his skepticism. "Labor dispute doesn't explain why they won't even acknowledge our presence. Union leaders aren't stupid. They know refusing to communicate with military personnel escalates the situation. Which is why we're going down there to find out what's really happening." Cale said, "This is strictly a reconnaissance mission. We observe, we assess, we report back. We do not engage unless directly threatened, and we maintain constant communication with the Perseverance. Questions?" The team shook their heads in unison. "Equipment check," Cale ordered. For the next 10 minutes, each team member verified their gear. Environmental suits with 6-hour air supplies, emergency beacons, multi-spectrum scanners, basic medical supplies, enough firepower to handle most hostile situations they might encounter. Bion Delta's atmosphere was technically breathable for humans, but the high concentration of industrial particulates made filtration masks essential for extended surface operations. As they prepared to board the dropship, Captain Morrison's voice crackled through the intercom. "Cale, you need to see this." The team gathered around the main display as Morrison called up the most recent orbital scan. The facility spread across the screen in precise detail, its structures rendered in sharp relief by the scanning array's penetrating sensors. "I've been running continuous passive scans since we arrived," Morrison explained. "Most readings have remained consistent, but look at this." She highlighted a section of the residential complex. The life signs are moving in synchronized patterns, perfect geometric formations that repeat every 47 minutes. Kale studied the display, watching as dozens of human signatures traced identical paths through the facility's corridors. They moved as one, their routes forming intricate patterns that served no apparent functional purpose. "Could be some kind of emergency drill," Webb suggested, but his voice lacked conviction. "For 3 days straight?" Rodriguez shook her head. "And look at the timing. They're moving like clockwork. Humans don't naturally synchronize their movements that precisely." Vasquez enhanced the display, revealing additional details. "There's something else. The biometric readings are unusual: heart rates, neural activity, respiratory patterns. They're all identical across the entire population. Not similar, identical." An uncomfortable silence settled over the team as they absorbed the implications. Humans, even in organized groups, maintained individual biological rhythms. Identical readings across nearly 150 people suggested something far more troubling than a labor dispute. Could be some kind of drug, Morrison offered. Chemical sedation to keep the workers compliant? Or mind control technology, Volkov added grimly. Wouldn't be the first time a corporation experimented on its workforce. Kale studied the scan data, his mind racing through possibilities. None of them felt right. The readings were too perfect, too coordinated. Whatever was affecting the miners went beyond simple sedation or psychological manipulation. "New plan," he announced. "We maintain full combat readiness from the moment we touch down. Vasquez, I want continuous scans of everything: life signs, electromagnetic signatures, chemical compositions. Webb, prepare for potential biological contamination. Rodriguez, you're my second. If something happens to me, you get the team out and report back to command." "What about the no-engagement protocol?" Rodriguez asked. Kale looked at his team, young faces marked by the confidence of professional soldiers, but touched now with the uncertainty that came from confronting the unknown. "The protocol assumes we're dealing with normal human behavior. If we encounter evidence of external control or contamination, our first priority becomes survival and intelligence gathering." The dropship Falcon detached from the Perseverance 30 minutes later, its engines carving a bright trail through Bion Delta's thin atmosphere. Kale watched the facility grow larger through the pilot's display, noting the eerie uniformity of the structures. Everything appeared normal. Too normal. No signs of damage, no evidence of struggle, no indication of the chaos that typically accompanied labor disputes or equipment failures. "Landing zone secured," announced Lieutenant Torres, the dropship's pilot, setting down in the main courtyard as requested. The Falcon touched down with barely a tremor, its landing systems compensating for the planet's slightly higher gravity. Through the viewports, Kale could see the facility's main entrance, a reinforced airlock designed to withstand the planet's frequent dust storms. The courtyard around the landing pad was empty, but lights flickered in the windows of nearby buildings, suggesting normal activity within. "Atmosphere reads safe for filtered breathing," Torres reported. "Particulate levels are elevated, but within acceptable parameters. Temperature is 12 degrees Celsius. Humidity negligible." Kale activated his suit's communication system and ran a final check with each team member. Their signals came through clearly, and their biometric data appeared normal. Whatever was affecting the facility's inhabitants hadn't spread to them yet. "Remember," he said as they prepared to disembark, "we go in as observers. We find out what's happening to these people, and we get out. No heroics, no unnecessary risks." The airlock cycled with a soft hiss, and Kale stepped onto the surface of Bion Delta for the first time. The gravity pulled at him, heavier than standard Earth normal, but not uncomfortably so. The air tasted of metal and stone dust despite his filtration mask, and the silence was absolute, No machinery noise, no human voices, no signs of the bustling activity that should characterize a successful mining operation. Rodriguez emerged beside him, her rifle ready but not raised. "It's too quiet," she observed. Vasquez's scanner array swept the immediate area, painting overlapping fields of data across her display. "I'm reading normal power distribution, atmospheric composition within expected parameters, and—" She paused, frowning. "That's odd. What is it?" Cale asked. "The facility's computer network is active, but it's operating under protocols I don't recognize. Data flows are unusually structured, almost like they're following some kind of template or pattern." Webb and Volkov flanked the group, maintaining defensive positions as they approached the main entrance. The airlock appeared functional, its status lights glowing green, but no one came to greet them despite their arrival being clearly visible from the facility's windows. "Should we announce ourselves?" Webb asked. Cale shook his head. "Let's observe first. If they're under some form of external control, announcing our presence might trigger defensive responses." The main airlock opened at their approach, its sensors recognizing authorized military credentials. Beyond lay a clean, well-lit corridor that stretched toward the facility's central hub. The walls were lined with informational displays showing mining quotas, safety statistics, and recreational schedules, all normal for an industrial facility. But the silence remained absolute. They moved forward in tactical formation, Volkov taking point while Rodriguez covered their rear. Their footsteps echoed strangely in the empty corridors, as if the facility's acoustic dampening systems had been deactivated. Emergency lighting strips provided adequate illumination, but the absence of human activity created an atmosphere of abandonment despite the obvious signs of ongoing operation. "Life signs are stronger now," Vasquez reported, her voice barely above a whisper. "Approximately 30 individuals in the central hub, moving in those same synchronized patterns." They reached a junction where the main corridor branched toward different facility sections, residential quarters to the left, industrial areas to the right, and the central hub straight ahead. Through reinforced windows, they could see into the hub's main assembly area. What they saw defied immediate explanation. Nearly 30 men and women moved through the space in perfect unison, their steps synchronized to match rhythms that seemed to follow no human logic. They wore standard mining uniforms, but something about their movements suggested profound changes beneath the familiar clothing. Their actions appeared purposeful yet alien, as if they were performing a complex ritual whose meaning remained hidden from outside observers. "Jesus Christ," Webb whispered. "Look at their faces." Cale pressed closer to the window, studying the miners' expressions. Their faces held an eerie serenity, eyes focused on some distant point beyond the physical walls around them. They moved without apparent awareness of their surroundings, following invisible pathways that guided them through intricate formations. "It's like they're sleepwalking," Rodriguez observed. "But sleepwalkers don't coordinate their movements." Vasquez ran detailed scans through the window, her equipment painting complex data patterns across her display. Biometric readings confirmed what we saw from orbit. Identical heart rates, synchronized neural activity, perfectly matched respiratory patterns. "This isn't human behavior." One of the miners stopped directly in front of their window, turning to face them with mechanical precision. Her eyes, once presumably brown, now held flecks of metallic silver that caught the light like tiny mirrors. She stared at them for several seconds without apparent recognition, then turned away and resumed her synchronized movements. "Did you see her eyes?" Webb asked, his voice tight with concern. "I saw them," Cale replied grimly. "Vasquez, what are you reading from their physical scans?" The tech specialist adjusted her equipment, focusing deeper scans on the miners beyond the window. What appeared on her display made her step backward in shock. "Sir, these people, they're not entirely human anymore." Vasquez's hands trembled as she refined her scanner settings, hoping the disturbing readings would result of equipment malfunction. The data remained consistent. The miners beyond the window showed significant physiological alterations that extended far beyond cosmetic changes. "Explain," Cale ordered, his voice carrying controlled tension of a veteran soldier confronting the impossible. "Their skeletal structure has been enhanced with metallic reinforcements," Vasquez reported, her augmented reality display overlaying detailed anatomical data onto her field of vision. Calcium-based bone matrix supplemented with what appears to be advanced nanomaterials. Their nervous systems show additional neural pathways that don't correspond to any known human anatomy. And there's something else. Their cellular structure includes components that aren't biological in origin. Rodriguez kept her rifle trained on the window while processing the implications. Are you saying they've been surgically modified? Not surgically, Vasquez replied, her voice growing increasingly strained. The alterations appear to have been implemented at the cellular level. Complete integration of biological and mechanical systems. This level of bioengineering is decades beyond our current capabilities. Webb checked his medical scanner, confirming Vasquez's readings. I'm detecting trace amount of unknown compounds in the air around them, microscopic particles that don't match any terrestrial elements in my database. The synchronized miners continued their ritual movements, oblivious of the surveillance team observing them. Their coordinated actions created patterns that seemed almost ceremonial, as if they were participating in some vast, incomprehensible performance. We need to understand what did this to them, Kale decided, and we need to determine if it's contagious. Volkov gestured toward a secondary corridor. Environmental suits should provide adequate protection if this is some kind of biological contamination, but if it's technological, then we proceed with extreme caution. Kale finished. Vasquez, can you access the facility's computer systems from here? The tech specialist connected her portable interface to a nearby access panel, her fingers dancing across holographic controls as she attempted to penetrate the facility's network. I'm in, but the data architecture is wrong. The system is operating under completely unfamiliar protocols. It's like the entire network has been rewritten. By whom? Unknown. But the programming isn't human in origin. The logic structures are too complex, too integrated. Whoever or whatever modified these systems has computational capabilities far exceeding our own. Kale made a tactical decision. We split into two teams. Rodriguez, you and Volkov investigate the residential areas. Try to determine when and how this transformation process began. Webb, you're with Vasquez and me. We're going to main computer core to extract whatever data we can. Sir, Rodriguez interjected, splitting up might not be wise if we're dealing with unknown contamination. Agreed, but we need information. Maintain constant communication, and if anyone shows signs of contamination or external influence, we abort immediately and return to the dropship. The team separated at the junction, Rodriguez and Volkov heading toward the residential quarters, while Kale led Webb and Vasquez deeper into the facility's technical sections. The corridors remained eerily silent, broken only by the soft hum of ventilation systems and the distant sound of automated machinery. The computer core is 3 levels down, Vasquez reported, consulting building schematics on her display. Main elevator appears functional. As they descended, Webb's medical scanner detected increasing concentrations of the unknown particles Vasquez had identified. Whatever's causing the transformations, it's more concentrated in the lower levels. We might be approaching the source. The elevator doors open onto a corridor that looked subtly different from the upper levels. The walls retained their industrial appearance, but close examination revealed hairline patterns etched into the metal surfaces. Intricate geometric designs that seemed to pulse with faint luminescence. Those markings weren't in the original building specifications, Vasquez observed, running her scanner along the etched patterns. They appear to be integrated into the molecular structure of the wall materials. Someone or something has been rewriting the facility's physical architecture. They followed the corridor toward the computer core, passing several laboratories and technical workshops. Through reinforced windows, they glimpsed equipment that had been modified beyond recognition. Mining tools reshaped into complex geometric forms, computers reconstructed with components that defied identification, and workstations arranged in patterns that served no apparent human purpose. The computer core lay behind blast-resistant doors that opened automatically at their approach. Beyond was a vast chamber filled with processing units that hummed with computational activity. But like everything else in the facility, the technology had been transformed. The original server arrays remained, but they had been supplemented with additional hardware that seemed to grow organically from the existing systems. Crystalline structures pulsed with data flows, while metallic conduits snaked between processing units like technological vines. The entire chamber felt alive, as if the computers had evolved beyond their original design parameters. "This is impossible," Webb breathed, staring at the transformed machinery. "These modifications would take years to implement, and the engineering required is beyond anything in our technological database." Vasquez approached the central interface console, her scanner detecting complex electromagnetic signatures emanating from the enhanced systems. The network is processing information at rates that shouldn't be possible with this hardware. The modifications have increased computational capacity by several orders of magnitude. Kale activated his communication link. Rodriguez, report. The sergeant's voice crackled through with noticeable interference. "We've found the residential quarters, sir. The living spaces have been modified. Sleeping areas have been converted into something that looks like hibernation chambers. And we found evidence of the transformation process." "Explain." "There are cocoon-like structures in several rooms. Organic material mixed with metallic components. It looks like the miners were placed inside these things during the conversion process. Some are still occupied." Kale exchanged grim looks with his team members. "Are the occupants alive?" "Unclear. Biometric readings are unusual, extremely slow metabolic rates, but brain activity suggests they're undergoing some kind of neural restructuring. Sir, I think we're looking at the next phase of whatever's happening here." Webb's medical scanner began registering alarming readings. "Commander, I'm detecting increased particle concentrations in our immediate vicinity. Whatever caused the transformations is becoming more active." Vasquez's interface with computer core suddenly blazed with activity as streams of data flowed across her display. "I'm accessing their logs, but the information is encoded in formats I don't recognize. Wait, I'm getting something." The chamber's lighting dimmed as the enhanced computer systems focused their processing power on responding to Vasquez's queries. Holographic displays materialized around them, showing three-dimensional representations of data that hurt to look at directly. "The transformation process began 47 days ago," Vasquez reported, her voice tight with concentration as she struggled to interpret the alien data structures. Something was discovered in the deep mining shafts, a structure of unknown origin, composed of materials that don't match any known elements. The holographic displays shifted, showing geological surveys of Bi and Delta subsurface. Deep beneath the planet's crust, the images revealed a vast geometric structure that extended for kilometers in all directions. Its surface was covered with the same intricate patterns they had observed in the facility's modified corridors. "It's a machine," Webb realized, studying the three-dimensional representation, or some kind of technological artifact. "How long has it been buried down there?" "Unknown," Vasquez replied, her fingers flying across her interface as she extracted more information. But according to these logs, initial contact with the structure triggered an immediate response. It began emitting particles that were carried throughout the facility by the ventilation systems. Kale studied the geological surveys with growing alarm. The structure appeared to be of artificial origin, its geometric precision suggesting construction by intelligent beings. But its composition and apparent age indicated technology far beyond human capabilities. "Where did it come from?" he asked. Vasquez continued her analysis, the alien data streams threatening to overwhelm her interface systems. The logs contain references to, "I'm not sure how to translate this. The closest approximation would be seeding protocol or preparation phase. This structure appears to be part of a larger system designed to transform planetary environments." "Transform them into what?" "I don't know. The data structures are too complex for complete translation, but I'm detecting references to additional structures on other worlds, all following similar patterns. This might not be an isolated incident." The implications hit Kale like a physical blow. If Vasquez's interpretation was correct, they weren't dealing with a local contamination event or corporate experiment gone wrong. They were confronting evidence of an alien intelligence with the capability to transform entire worlds. His communication link activated with an urgent transmission from Rodriguez. "Sir, we have a problem. The miners in the cocoons are beginning to emerge, and they're not human anymore." Rodriguez's voice carried through the communication link with barely controlled tension. "Sir, you need to see this. The transformation process is accelerating." Kale made a quick decision. "Vasquez, download everything you can from these systems. We need to understand what we're dealing with. Webb, prepare to move. We're regrouping with Rodriguez and Volkov." "The data transfer will take at least 10 minutes, Vasquez protested, her interface system struggling to process the alien information structures, and the computer core is providing additional intelligence about the structure's origins. "You have 5 minutes, Kale ordered. "After that, we evacuate regardless of completion status." As Vasquez worked frantically to extract critical data, Webb's medical scanner registered increasingly dangerous particle concentrations in the air around them. "Commander, whatever's in these particles is becoming more active. I'm detecting molecular-level changes in the facility's atmosphere." The chamber's lighting pulsed in rhythm with the enhanced computer systems, and Kale noticed that the geometric patterns etched into the walls were growing brighter. The entire facility seemed to be awakening, responding to their presence or perhaps to some predetermined schedule. "Vasquez, status report." "I'm getting references to something called the integration protocol," she replied, her voice strained from concentration. "Multiple phases of planetary transformation designed to prepare worlds for colonization, assimilation." The translation algorithms can't provide exact meaning, but the intent appears to be complete environmental restructuring. Through his communication link, Kale could hear sounds of activity from Rodriguez's position, metallic scraping, low humming noises, and what might have been voices, though distorted beyond easy recognition. "Rodriguez, do you need immediate assistance?" "Negative, sir, but I recommend rapid extraction. The miners emerging from the cocoons are exhibiting capabilities that exceed normal human parameters. Enhanced strength, coordinated movement patterns, and they seem to be aware of our presence despite showing no obvious sensory improvements." Web scanner detected movement in the corridors above them, multiple life signs approaching our position. 17 individuals, moving in perfect synchronization. Kale activated the tactical display on his wrist unit, showing the facility's layout overlaid with position markers for his team and the approaching figures. The transformed miners were converging on the computer core from multiple directions, their movements suggesting coordinated intelligence rather than random wandering. "Time's up," he announced. "Vasquez, whatever data you have will have to suffice." The tech specialist disconnected her interface with obvious reluctance. "I've captured approximately 40% of the available information, including detailed specifications of the transformation process and references to additional structures throughout this sector of space." They moved quickly toward the corridor, but the sound of synchronized footsteps echoed from multiple directions. The transformed miners were positioned to intercept them regardless of their chosen route. "Webb, are there any alternative exits from this level?" The medic consulted building schematics on his display. "Maintenance shafts connect to the ventilation system. We could access the service tunnels and bypass the main corridors." "Do it." Webb led them to a maintenance access panel that opened onto a narrow shaft designed for automated repair systems. The space was barely large enough for a human, but it would allow them to move through the facility without encountering the approaching miners. As they crawled through the cramped passage, Vasquez continued analyzing the data she had extracted. "The transformation process operates in distinct phases," she reported, her voice muffled by the confined space. "First, atmospheric dispersal of conversion particles. Second, cellular integration and neural restructuring. Third, behavioral synchronization and enhanced physical capabilities. But there's a fourth phase that hasn't been implemented yet." "What kind of fourth phase?" Kale asked, though he suspected he didn't want to know the answer. "Complete integration with the planetary structure. The transformed individuals become part of a larger collective consciousness, and the planet itself becomes a node in an interstellar network. They emerge from the maintenance shaft into a storage area near the residential quarters. Through connecting corridors, they could see Rodriguez and Volkov maintaining defensive positions while observing the miners' activities. The transformed individuals moved through a facility with purpose that transcended their previous human limitations. They worked together to modify equipment and infrastructure, their actions guided by shared knowledge that required no verbal communication. Their enhanced physical capabilities allowed them to manipulate heavy machinery with ease, while their coordinated efforts accomplished complex tasks in impossibly short time frames. They're not just mining anymore, Volkov observed as Kale's team rejoined them. They're constructing something, some kind of transmission array or communication system. Through reinforced windows, they watched as the transformed miners assembled a complex device from components that hadn't existed in the facility's original inventory. The construction process proceeded with mechanical precision, each individual contributing to the effort without apparent supervision or coordination. The fourth phase, Vasquez whispered, they're building the infrastructure needed to connect this facility to the interstellar network. Webb's medical scanner detected alarming changes in their immediate environment. Particle concentrations are increasing rapidly. We're beginning to approach dangerous exposure levels. Kale activated his communication link to contact the Perseverance. Captain Morrison, we need immediate extraction. The situation has escalated beyond reconnaissance parameters. Static answered his transmission, followed by Morrison's voice distorted by increasing interference. Kale, we're detecting massive electromagnetic signatures from your location. Something is interfering with our communication systems. Through the facility's windows, they could see the transmission array taking shape under the miners' coordinated efforts. The device emitted complex electromagnetic patterns that seemed to pulse with alien intelligence. They're jamming our communications, Rodriguez realized, preventing us from reporting what we discovered, or preparing for the next phase of the protocol. Vasquez added grimly, if they succeed in establishing interstellar contact, this planet becomes a staging ground for additional transformations. One of the transformed miners turned toward their hiding position, her silver-flecked eyes focusing directly on a location despite the reinforced barriers between them. She gestured to her companions, and within seconds, multiple transformed individuals began moving toward the storage area. They know we're here, Webb observed unnecessarily. Kale assessed their tactical situation. They were outnumbered by enhanced opponents with unknown capabilities, trapped in a facility that was actively working against them, and facing contamination by transformation particles that threatened to convert them into the same hybrid entities they were trying to escape. Emergency extraction, he decided. We break for the landing pad and signal for immediate pickup. Sir, Volkov interjected. If those particles can transform an entire facility, what happens when they spread beyond this planet? If there are additional structures throughout this sector, the implications were staggering. If the transformation technology could convert worlds into nodes of an alien network, humanity faced a threat that transcended military response. This wasn't an invasion in any traditional sense. It was systematic assimilation on a galactic scale. All the more reason to get this intelligence back to command. Kale replied, Move out. They left the storage area as transformed miners began accessing the space from multiple entry points. The corridor leading to the main exit stretched ahead of them, but it was no longer empty. Dozens of enhanced individuals moved to the facility with obvious purpose, their synchronized actions suggesting coordination by some central intelligence. Contact, Rodriguez announced as the first transformed miner rounded a corner ahead of them. The enhanced individual moved with fluid grace that exceeded normal human capabilities. Her face retained recognizable features, but her silver-flecked eyes held intelligence that seemed both human and utterly alien. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that suggested technological enhancement of her vocal systems. You cannot leave, she stated with calm certainty. The integration protocol requires your participation. Stand down, Kale ordered, raising his sidearm. We are military personnel conducting an authorized investigation. The transformed miner tilted her head with mechanical precision. Military classifications are irrelevant. All biological entities within the facility zone are subject to conversion protocols. Resistance delays but does not prevent integration. More enhanced individuals appeared from connecting corridors, surrounding Kale's team with coordinated efficiency. Their movement suggested perfect tactical awareness, as if they shared a collective understanding of optimal positioning and strategy. They're not just enhanced, Webb realized. They're networked, sharing sensory data and coordinating responses in real time. Vasquez's scanner detected massive computational activity throughout the facility. The entire structure has become a distributed processing system. Every transformed individual contributes to a collective intelligence that's growing more sophisticated as it incorporates additional participants. The transformed miners began moving closer, their approach deliberate but non-threatening. They seemed to prefer voluntary cooperation over forcible conversion, though their overwhelming numerical advantage made resistance appear futile. The transformation process causes no permanent harm to existing consciousness, the lead miner explained, her voice carrying strange harmonics. Individual identity is preserved while gaining access to collective knowledge and enhanced capabilities. You will understand once integration is complete. We decline your generous offer, Rodriguez replied, keeping her rifle trained on the approaching figures. Biological entities are not equipped to make informed decisions regarding integration without direct experience of enhanced consciousness. Refusal is based on incomplete understanding. Kale noted that more transformed individuals were arriving from other sections of the facility. Within minutes, they would be completely outnumbered by opponents whose capabilities remained largely unknown. Volkov, Webb, clears a path to the main exit. Rodriguez, Vasquez, covering fire if necessary. We're leaving now. The team moved with practiced coordination, using their military training to maximum advantage. Volkov's heavy weapons created enough disruption to temporarily scatter the transformed miners, while Rodriguez provided precision fire that forced them to seek cover. Webb and Vasquez moved quickly toward the exit, their equipment allowing them to bypass security systems that the enhanced individuals might have modified. But as they reached the main corridor leading to the exit, the facility's lighting suddenly intensified, and the geometric patterns etched into the walls began pulsing with brilliant illumination. The transformation particles in the air became visible as glittering clouds that moved with obvious purpose rather than random distribution. Emergency protocols activated, announced a voice that seemed to emerge from the facility's infrastructure itself. Containment measures initiated. Integration procedure commencing. The exit doors sealed with definitive finality, their locking mechanisms reinforced by modifications that hadn't existed in the original design. Emergency systems throughout the facility activated, creating an environment designed to prevent escape, while maximizing exposure to transformation particles. They were trapped in a structure that had become a conversion machine, facing opponents whose capabilities exceeded normal human parameters, while breathing air that threatened to transform them into the same hybrid entities they were trying to escape. And somewhere far beneath their feet, an alien intelligence that had waited eons for discovery was finally beginning to implement its ultimate purpose. Emergency lighting bathed the sealed corridor in pulsing red illumination as Kale's team found themselves trapped between multiple groups of transformed miners. The facility's automated systems had activated containment protocols that turned every passage into a potential prison, while the air itself became increasingly saturated with transformation particles. "Sir, I'm detecting rapid changes in our biometric readings," Webb reported, his medical scanner displaying alarming data. Early stages of cellular modification have begun in all team members. We have maybe 30 minutes before the process becomes irreversible. Vasquez worked frantically at her portable interface, attempting to override the facility's security systems. The computer network is actively resisting my intrusion attempts. It's not just following program responses. There's adaptive intelligence controlling these systems. Through the sealed exit, they could see the Perseverance maintaining orbit above the facility. Captain Morrison's voice crackled through increasingly distorted communications. "Kale, we're detecting massive energy signatures from your location. The facility appears to be drawing power from some unknown source deep underground. Captain, implement emergency protocols," Kale transmitted. "If we don't extract within 1 hour, assume we've been compromised and return command with all available intelligence." "Understood, but we're not abandoning you without a fight." The transformed miners maintained their positions around Kale's team, making no aggressive moves but preventing any possibility of escape. Their patient demeanor suggested confidence that the conversion process would eventually eliminate resistance regardless of military training or equipment. "The deep structure is responding to our presence," Vasquez announced, studying data flows from her earlier interface with the computer core. "Increased activity in the subsurface installation is driving the acceleration of transformation protocols." "What kind of structure are we dealing with?" Rodriguez asked, keeping her weapon trained on the nearest transformed miner. "Based on the geological surveys, it's enormous, possibly extending to the planet's entire crust. The material composition doesn't match any known elements, and the energy signatures suggest technology that operates on principles we don't understand." Web scanner detected continuing changes in their cellular structure. "The transformation particles are rewriting our DNA in real time. Enhanced physical capabilities, neural restructuring, and integration of technological components at the molecular level." Kale felt a strange clarity beginning to affect his thoughts, as if information was becoming available that hadn't existed moments before. The sensation was subtle but unmistakably foreign, knowledge that belonged to something beyond human experience. "It's starting," he realized. "The neural modifications are beginning to affect our cognitive processes." The lead transformed miner stepped closer, her silver-flecked eyes reflecting complex patterns of light. "The integration process preserves individual consciousness while providing access to collective knowledge accumulated across multiple worlds. You will retain your memories, your personality, your essential identity, but gain understanding that transcends individual limitations." Understanding of what? Kale demanded, though part of his mind was already beginning to formulate answers that came from no human source. The purpose of biological intelligence in the evolution of consciousness, the role of individual worlds in the development of galactic awareness, the eventual transcendence of matter-based existence through technological integration. Vasquez's interface systems suddenly blazed with activity as her equipment connected automatically to the facility's enhanced computer network. "I'm receiving massive data downloads," she reported, her voice carrying notes of wonder despite her obvious attempts to maintain professional detachment. "Specifications for technologies that could transform human civilization, medical advances that would eliminate disease and extend lifespans indefinitely, energy systems that could power interstellar expansion. Don't let it influence your judgment," Rodriguez warned, though her own voice carried hints of the same strange clarity that was affecting the others. "Whatever's in those particles is designed to make the conversion process seem beneficial. But as the transformation particles continued their work, the enhanced information became increasingly difficult to dismiss. Mathematical concepts that had eluded human understanding for centuries suddenly seemed elegantly simple. Physical laws that govern matter and energy revealed underlying patterns of breathtaking complexity and beauty. The structure of consciousness itself became visible as networks of information that transcended individual biological boundaries. "We need to reach the deep structure," Kale announced, the decision emerging from sources beyond his normal thought processes. "The installation beneath the facility contains answers to questions we haven't learned to ask yet." "Sir," Webb protested, "approaching the source of the transformation field will accelerate our conversion." "The conversion is already inevitable," Kale replied, his enhanced awareness providing tactical assessments that incorporated factors beyond standard military analysis. "But we can still choose how to use the knowledge we gain." The transformed miner stepped aside as Kale's team moved toward maintenance elevators that provided access to the facility's lower levels. Their compliance suggested that voluntary investigation of the deep structure served their purposes better than forced conversion in the upper facility. The elevator systems had been modified, Vasquez observed as they descended toward the mining levels. Enhanced capacity and extended range to reach depths that weren't accessible in the original design. As they descended, Webb's medical scanner registered exponential increases in transformation particle concentration. "We're approaching the primary source. Cellular modifications are accelerating rapidly." The elevator stopped at a level that hadn't existed in the facility's original specifications. Beyond the doors lay a vast chamber carved from living rock, its walls lined with the same geometric patterns they had observed throughout the modified facility. But here, the patterns pulsed with energy that seemed to emanate from the planet's core itself. At the center of the chamber stood an access portal that led deeper underground, a shaft that descended beyond the range of their scanning equipment. The portal's construction utilized materials that defied easy classification, their surfaces reflecting light in ways that suggested manipulation of physical laws governing matter and energy. "This is it." Vasquez breathed, her enhanced awareness providing understanding that transcended normal human perception. The primary interface with the deep structure. Through their communication link, Captain Morrison's voice carried increasing urgency. "Kale, orbital sensors are detecting massive energy buildups throughout the planet's subsurface. Whatever you found down there is affecting geological stability on a global scale." "Copy that, Captain. We're proceeding to investigate the source." As they approached the portal, their enhanced senses detected vast intelligence residing in the depths below. Not individual consciousness, but something collective and ancient. A mind that spanned worlds and encompassed understanding accumulated across eons of experience. "It's been waiting," Rodriguez realized, her transformed awareness providing insights that bypassed normal analytical processes. The structure isn't just a machine or a weapon. It's a repository of knowledge from civilizations that achieved technological transcendence. The portal responded to their approach, its alien mechanisms activating with harmonious precision. A transport platform emerged from the depths, its construction utilizing principles that made conventional technology seem primitive by comparison. "We don't have to go down there," Webb pointed out, though his voice lacked conviction. The transformation process had progressed far enough that their enhanced consciousness recognized the importance of direct contact with the deep structure. "Yes, we do," Kale replied. "This is bigger than one planet, bigger than humanity's current expansion into space. We're looking at technology that could transform our understanding of consciousness, intelligence, and our place in the universe." As they stepped onto the transport platform, the last vestiges of their purely human perspective began fading into something larger and more comprehensive. Individual identity remained intact, but it was now part of a vast network of intelligence that spanned multiple worlds and incorporated the accumulated wisdom of countless civilizations. The platform descended through layers of modified rock that showed evidence of technological integration spanning geological timeframes. The structure they were approaching had been influencing Bayan Delta's development for millions of years, subtly altering its composition in preparation for eventual activation. "Captain Morrison," Kale transmitted as they descended beyond communication range. "If we don't return within 48 hours, assume we've been successfully integrated. Our mission data should provide command with enough intelligence to prepare for what's coming." "What is coming, Kale?" "The next phase of human evolution. Whether humanity embraces it voluntarily or has imposed through transformation protocols will depend on how quickly command can process what we've discovered." The transport platform reached the bottom of the shaft, opening onto a chamber that defied architectural description. The deep structure revealed itself as a vast technological environment that merged organic and mechanical elements into configurations that served purposes beyond human comprehension. At the center of the installation stood an interface designed for direct neural contact with the collective intelligence that had created it. The structure itself was a node in an interstellar network that connected hundreds of transformed worlds, each contributing to a galactic consciousness that had been developing for millions of years. This is why they call it an integration protocol. Vasquez realized, her enhanced understanding revealing the true scope of what they had discovered. It's not conquest or assimilation. It's an invitation to join something larger than individual planetary civilizations. As Kale approached the central interface, his transformed consciousness prepared to make direct contact with intelligence that spanned star systems and incorporated the wisdom of countless species. The decision would determine not only their personal fate, but the future relationship between humanity and the vast collective that was offering membership in galactic civilization.